Evening, y'all. Welcome to another Lockdown Live chat. As usual, joined with my co-host, the purveyor of all things Dracona Media. I finally got a little tongue lash for that. Mr. Alec Lyle, how's it?
Oh, good. I'll do a little of a not so humble brag. The Sepulchre of Man single is second in African metal at the moment.
Hell yeah.
So if you haven't checked it out, suggest you get on board. Humble brag.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Helica demo is getting to a point where it's a demo.
Yeah, man. And you've got a lot of other projects that you got to talk about, but we will delve into that over the next couple of weeks. So baby steps, give people some morsels. Anyway, second little shout out to Patrick, a Medal for Africa. Finally got the Winterfest top, so thank you, Pat.
I have last year's.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to the M4A guys for that killer. All right, another shout out to the lovely guys at ESCOM for literally after 39 weeks of episodes, finally catching me in the middle of a load shed. So we're hoping that things go well. That being said, I'm angry, and what better genre to talk about when you're angry than thrash, and what better guest to have than a familiar face to the chat. We're joined today by Daniel Louw of many projects, but mostly Halvar. So how's it, Dan? Welcome back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Yeah, it's good to be back. Feels very familiar.
Yeah, man. 8 months since you've actually were on the show with Dolph. Pretty much the world went to shit. The new album, Ancestral Communication, came out. Good international response. And then, yeah, a lot of other projects followed. You followed up by working on the Abaddon album, finishing that up, and then recently joining the Fallen Prophets as their third guitarist. So, yeah, I guess let's break it down. How important has it been musically for you to keep sane during these crucial times of pandemic?
Tell you what, I took quite a few months off, to be fair. I mean, those first few months of lockdown, I was so pissed off that we didn't have that Halvar launch. Because I spoke to you that the last time we were on, me and Dolph were on the show, how pissed off we were about it, how rehearsed we were. So after that, I was like, nah, I'm not writing. I'm not doing a thing for at least 3 months. And yeah, especially in the Halvar camp, it was very much like everything I was writing wasn't fast enough. It wasn't thrashy enough. It wasn't groovy enough. So I'm like, okay, we'll leave it for a while. And now we're coming back with more than ever.
That's awesome, man. As Lyle mentioned, you recently joined the Fallen Prophets. Is it maybe you can give us sort of how that works? Is it as a third guitarist, or is Peter focusing more on vocals? And how's it working with the guys? Are you going to be like a contributing writing member, or are you more focused on like live performance? And last part of the question is like, how does the approach differ for you to playing stuff like Halvar? Obviously there's different tunings and whatnot, so there you go.
They haven't officially kind of announced what it's going to be like, but yeah, Peter is doing straight up vocals from now on, which from the rehearsals his vocals have always been stellar, but when he doesn't have to focus on doing those technical freaking death metal guitar riffs as well, while having to blast his little demon gutturals over the top, his vocals are sounding exactly like on the record. I mean, it's perfect. I mean, nothing different. What you're gonna hear on the record is what you're what you're gonna hear live with them. So yeah, and then I've kind of just taken over a lead role. Obviously with all the guest stars that they had on the last EP, with being Chris and Ollie and Wazzy and all those guys. They wanted someone that could do a bit more flashy sort of leads. So they got me on for that, basically, after having had Wazzy and Ollie and Chris do solos. Thanks for that. Like that's tough shoes to fill. But yeah, no, it's going well. I mean, as a band, we're getting on well. You know, I mean, we've all been friends for ages. And yeah, so, back to the writing. I've been spewing out death metal lately. It's something I've been wanting to do for ages. I've never had a medium to put it through. And now that I'm involved with the Prophets, I'm just, song after song after riff, just sending it all through. And so, yeah, no, it's definitely going good. And yeah, I'm definitely hoping to be part of a lot of the writing. But I think Francois and Peter are the guys you need to ask for that, whether they're going to use any of my stuff or not.
Yeah, they'll lead you on a little bit just because it's funnier this way.
Maybe, yeah, possibly.
So yeah, let's keep that little thread going through the chat. You've joined the Fallen Prophets, but before, when you guys were on the last chat, you guys actually mentioned that you brought on one of the Fallen Prophets members, the notorious Vian, whose bassist now actually been brought on to Halvar as I presume a lead guitarist, or at least a guitarist contributing member. He kind of comes from a serious, brutal death background with Imperial Destruction. I mean, there's a lot of street cred that comes with that. Obviously, different route when he's involved as a bassist with the Fallen Prophets. So I guess same kind of question that Alec posed to you dealing with Francois. How's it been with you dealing with Vian creatively? Is his influence in the band like going to change the sound sonically for you moving forward?
I definitely think so. All the members that we have now, because Welcome to Reality and Ancestral Communication were predominantly written by me, and now with this lineup, we're all kind of putting in a little bit of sauce in the pot, basically. So Vian's coming with, I know he's got his roots in death metal, but that guy's thrash knowledge and metal knowledge in general, I mean, he's spitting out these Exodus riffs and these Creator riffs, and it's all fitting in super, super nicely. Like obviously with our kind of theme for what we've got going with this EP is everyone's written their own song, and then we all wrote one together. So it's like the deconstructed cheesecake of a Halvar album, basically. So that's what it's going to be like. And you can hear it. Vian's influence is that heavy, like balls to the wall kind of German thrash aggression, and Josh is bringing all that hardcore vibe, and Dolph's just bringing crazy drums. I mean, he's obviously a big Gojira and Veil of Maya fan, so he's doing all sorts of weird rhythms and whatever. So yeah, it's looks like there's going to be harder, faster, and heavier. So very pleased about that.
No, that's awesome. Let's stick on the topic of this new EP. You guys announced your album art and your song titles for the EP this morning. Maybe take us through the themes and maybe the inspiration for the new material. I know you just said that everyone wrote something, wrote a song. Did everyone write the lyrics for their own songs, or have you handled the lyricism throughout?
I've handled I've handled majority of the lyricism. The only one is Josh's song. Josh wrote his own lyrics for that. But everything ties in together, which is the first time that's happened on a Halvar album, at least. You know, every time I write lyrics, I'm writing for what feels right at the moment. But everything on this album is one cohesive idea, which is, you know, like Christianity. You sure about that? That's the whole idea. Is just this big question mark in the face of religion. So obviously, the title track being "Baptized in Blasphemy," it follows this whole idea of children being brought up in this church community, and, you know, not ever being given the right to question, you know, what is right, what is wrong. Everything's set out in front of them, and you're never given the opportunity to question anything. You know, you conform to the rules of your church, and you're damned otherwise. So that follows over to the rest of the album, with the second track being the coolest song title we've ever had: Heretic Warfare, The Grave of Humankind. When I came up with that, I'm like, oh, that's brutal. So yeah, super happy about that.
Sick.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, I guess kind of dipping into a little bit of psychology, if you will. You're involved with 3 bands, different variations of input in all of them. But is there a different headspace that you have to kind of get yourself in when you, let's say, perform with Abaddon, or let's say get a set of riffs that Francois sends you from the Fallen Prophets, compared to, let's say, the Halvar material, which is, you know, you essentially in your mind?
Different headspace. I suppose a little bit. You know what? I try to be energetic. I mean, you've seen Halvar shows and Abaddon shows. I try to be energetic. I headbang and windmill and run around as much as I can. And that's not going to change dependent on, you know, wherever I am. The one thing that I will say, playing with Abaddon's a lot more intense. It's very much like, you know, we're going to take control of this crowd and we're going to give them the best show ever. With Halvar, it's more, I can get more drunk with Halvar. Put it that way. I can play a shitload more drunk with Halvar, because we go up there, we have fun, we talk shit, we tune each other, we tune Dolph a lot because he doesn't have a mic. And it's just kind of a piss around, and, you know, we make sure that we're super tight for the day, and we go and we give a good show, and we have fun doing it. So that's a bit of the difference in mentality. Not so sure if it comes across in the actual show, but yeah, I definitely put a few more beers down before a Halvar show, that's for sure.
Now, the Fallen Prophets will be an intense one, because they will by far be the most serious band you've dealt with live. So yeah,
but I
can't
help feeling serious when you play it. I mean, just in that rehearsal room, like I've never felt so badass in my life. I feel like I'm a lot bigger than I actually am. So yeah, no, I'm loving it. And like I said, I haven't had the opportunity to actually play a live show with them yet, but fuck, I cannot wait.
No, that's going to be super awesome. In terms of like the Halvar stuff, you've usually had this approach of like very DIY production, and you guys you actually pull it off pretty well. You know, like a lot of guys try the DIY route and struggle, and then wonder why their music sounds bad, but you do a really great job of it. So how much time do you reckon you spend on like post-production, mixing sort of vibe, just so that you could like give the other people that are trying to do it almost like an indication? And then do you think the Fallen Prophets guys will kind of lean on you for that, or do you think that they're very set in their ways?
Okay, so in terms of post-production on the Halvar albums, not too much time on the post-prod. I mean, I think I mixed the albums in maybe a week and a half, each of them. I don't master them. I send them off to Dolph for mastering, because I can't master for shit. But it's all in the pre-production. I mean, it's spending, you know, loads of time like finally analyzing how one part should be played, where to track, you know, 4 guitars, where to track 2 guitars, where to track 1 guitar, where your bass drop should come in, where you should have this bass tone, whatever. And that all just comes with experimenting and doing demos. I mean, I've had, for Be the Wolf, Kill the Lamb, for example, on the first Halvar album, I had 6 different demo versions of that song before we went to go track it. Just of different ways of track. The song structure was exactly the same. It's just, where does this guitar come in? Where does this part come in? And yeah, I think pre-production's the big thing when it comes to a DIY. But yeah, thinking back to the Halvar stuff and the DIY vibe, it's always going to stay like that. But I've always had this mentality that, you know, I like the old 90s death metal albums and the, you know, early thrash albums. And that's a sound I want to go for, where it's, you know, just raw. I didn't do any editing on the guitars or any editing on the drums. It was all just straight up. And I think that was a mistake, because in a modern metal climate, I suppose, it needs to sound big and it needs to sound tight. So that's going to change on the new Halvar album. It's going to sound a lot bigger. It's going to sound a lot tighter. The guitar tone is going to be a bit more modern, and the vocals are going to be a bit more layered, because I never liked layering too many vocals, because I'm like, no, that sounds like deathcore. so yeah, so that's gonna change on the new Halvar album. It's going to be a lot more modern sounding. And in regards to the Fallen Prophets, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be doing any post-prod with them or anything. I think, luckily, Francois is also very good with his tracking, and they're all very good with their pre-production. So I think, you know, push comes to shove, we'll, you know, take turns in helping each other do some tracking. I mean, like, maybe I'll track some drums, and, you know, I'll track my guitar parts. Francois might track his guitar parts, and, you know, we'll swap between doing, you know, Peter's vocals maybe, and then it'll probably all get sent off to Heinrich, because that's, you know, he's the boss. You know, you can't beat Heinrich.
Shout out to Burning Tone Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this next EP, something that was kind of off the question, but something you were mentioning about the drums. You did mention, I believe, in our previous chat, that you were going to be implementing actual analog drums for this EP. So, did that come into fruition?
Yeah, it was that's the same with the same with Ancestral. Ancestral was all, you know, track drums. You know, we did all of that in the studio. With this new one, it's a lot more. It's a lot of it's sampled. The cymbals are completely raw, but it's all what Dolph is gonna play. You know, it's not me sitting and writing out all the drums for him and then, you know, giving it to him later. So yeah, it's unfortunately not the, you know, full analog sound like we had on Ancestral, but like I said, you know, with everything that's going on, getting into a studio and all of that, it's a lot more difficult. So I'm happy with how it sounds, and, you know, next one we'll get straight back to it and get the full kit in.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you did mention that getting into the studio has been pretty much impossible during this pandemic. Another thing that's been impossible has been getting up onto the stage for gigs. I mean, a lot of bands in SA were primarily selling their merch and their CDs at gigs. Halvar kind of fell into that bracket of one of the victims that fell prey to this when the whole COVID pandemic happened. So I guess obviously with that in mind, as things loosen up, some printers are starting to do runs again, and there's possibilities of smaller gatherings. Any possibility of some new Halvar merch ranges coming out for the EP or
that would be great. Look, I mean, t-shirts we'd love to do. We want to do another run of t-shirts and a new design, maybe some reprints of the last design. But yeah, like I said, it's unfortunate for us that, you know, as our album launched was the weekend that lockdown hit. So that was a shit show. So I'm still sitting with like 20 Ancestral Communication CDs that I'm gonna try and get off. We managed to sell quite a few, which is good. But yeah, I mean, I think or prints of the baptized EP. Not sure if that's gonna happen yet, but hopefully some shirts and hopefully some shows. I mean, every time I leave this house and go somewhere, I'm like, oh, I need to play a show. So hopefully.
Yeah, you had some very risque artwork for the upcoming EP. You wanna elaborate on it a little bit?
I'd like to ask you a question. How is it risque?
I don't know. It's a little bit of a fat baby, so you could be body shaming the
how PC the world has become. Your baby's too fat on your album cover. He's covered in blood, but he's too fat. You know what?
Awesome artwork, though. Who
thanks,
came up
man.
with the idea of it? Who came up with the idea of it?
I think it was between me and Vian. I'd like to say it was me, but it sounds a lot more like something Vian would come up with. I'm pretty sure it was me, but it could possibly have been Vian. I'm not so sure. But yeah,
That's how
and
it
then
gets
yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Cannibal Corpse has done so much worse, and you know what? It's a it's a metaphor for what the song's about, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, you're going for the jugular, and I mean, you know, go for the jugular, there will be blood. But I'm keen.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good EP. I can guarantee you.
Sick. To take you back a little bit back to the sort of Fallen Prophets vibe, you recently did a playthrough for one of the tracks off the EP. I'm assuming you didn't track the guitars for the album version of that, and it was just a playthrough, right? How was the learning process of learning that track? Like, maybe, like, did you get Guitar Pro tabs, or did you have to learn it by ear, or?
No, I've seen Francois' hard drive. It is the most organized thing you will ever see. So he's got every release with every tab that he needs, and I mean he just sends it to me as I need it. So yeah, I mean it was the easiest thing. I think I learned the No End in Sight EP. I took a day per song to learn the song properly, and then rehearse them all together from there. But yeah, I mean they made it very, very easy for me. Yeah, so what wasn't the most difficult thing in the world? That opening arpeggio though, it's bloody difficult. Yeah, but aside from that, it was all right.
Are there any tracks that you're kind of I'm not saying dreading, because obviously they brought you on because you know what the hell you're doing. But are there any tracks, like any discussions live about the live show, like what tracks you guys would play, and any tracks like daunting gloom that you have actually having to perform live?
Not really, but there definitely some songs that I'd love to play live with them. Like I'm not so sure whether it's gonna happen, but I would love to play what's it, Nothing to Kill. Like that's got to be one of the ones I have to play. Like I'm so stoked on that song.
I don't know if they've actually ever performed that track live, although it was like the official music video. It's always like Relentless Killing Motivation or like Vessel of Man, or like Wrong Turn. But I can't actually.
It's also a song I can't wait to play live. But yeah, I know I'm sure that I saw them play Nothing to Kill at the album launch at Ancestral, but I'm not entirely sure because I was quite drunk.
As you should be at any good metal show, I guess. You know.
Yeah, they were playing at 11 o'clock. It was fun. I remember being in the mosh pit.
I think we're just about done here. Is there anything you really want to plug at this juncture?
Yes, please listen to Halvar as much as you can and buy merch if we bring it out. There you go.
Well, we're gonna motivate you, because if you guys got merch available, we'll get it onto Bandcamp, and then you guys can go support, grab that stuff, get the band through a tough time. And Dan, it's been so awesome chatting to you again, man. It's always good to hear that there's new music coming. Means something to look forward to in the future. So man, just keep shredding and we'll keep listening, man.
Thanks so much, guys. Oh, just awesome. Yeah, I'll keep doing my best.
Sick.
Awesome. Alec, I think we're going to wrap this up for another week.
100%.
Yep. Got the thumbs up. Guys, we'll be back same time, same place on the interweb. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, because that actually helps us. And we'll check you same time next week. Chat, guys. Have a great one.
Cheers, guys.